You are listening to Beyond the Verse, a Star Citizen podcast. A show dedicated to Cloud Imperium games, Star Citizen, and Squadron 42. Whether you fight, explore, unite, and or trade, we bring you news, updates, interviews, reviews, and analysis. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a pour of Radegast, and join us as we go Beyond the Verse.
Launch sequence activated.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Beyond the Verse, Star Citizen podcast. I'm your host, Sulyce, and this is episode 85 that I am calling 4.0 Win. Okay, we have no idea when it's coming out, and I don't know if we're in a better place now after IAE than when we were before IAE. We're going to get into that and dive into the latest patch notes to fully understand where we are and where we're going with 4.0. But other segments on today's episode include overall reactions to IAE, now that it's over as of yesterday, reactions to Save Stanton. I always say like Save Santa because it's close to Christmas. Save Stanton. We're going to go 2 weeks back and look at roadmap update. We're going to look at the December promotions, the subscriber promotions, reactions to all the new ships that came out during IAE. We will be going into the 3 to 500 build that is being proposed for 4.0. And then we will end with Inside Star Citizen, which highlights the music of Pyro. I cannot wait to get into this episode. It's about 2 weeks worth of analysis and news, so bear with me as this might be a longer episode. Come along for the ride. Here we go. All right, so first off, I hope this finds you well. I hope you had a very great Thanksgiving. I hope as you prepare for whatever holidays you celebrate in December, it's a good time for you. Thanksgiving for me, we didn't record, so we had to go 2 weeks back when I had Star Jump Grim on. Him and I talked about the lead up to IAE and what we thought was going to happen. Some predictions coming true and others not. But then 2 weeks off, right? So you didn't hear me from the week of Thanksgiving. And obviously this week we've been preparing for this episode. So there's a lot to cover. I'm not going to go through all pieces of news from 2 weeks ago. I'm not going to do it. There's a couple of highlights. I want to make sure we cross our T's, dot our I's, a lot of from the community. So we have a new website. We have new membership perks over at YouTube. I want to make sure we cover those very quickly. But we're going to sit in this week and talk about the latest and greatest information here. So again, I hope you're in a good place. This is my favorite time of the year, whether in game, like I love the end of IAE going into Luminalia, going into the new year. Not a lot of things happen in December because that's usually when CIG takes their hiatus. They take their very well-earned vacation, which makes me wonder how they're going to treat 4.0 when they're leaving for a hiatus. My predictions here in the next couple minutes, but also outside of the game. This is my favorite time of the year. So decorations are going up, things are going crazy, kids are going crazy. I again just hope this finds joy. I hope you find joy in this moment, in this season, wherever you are. All right.
Incoming message.
We have a lot to get through from the community. So I'm going to go and start sharing my screen. First off, we have a November monthly show review like we do at the beginning of every single episode. This is also up on the website, but I'm showing you Twitter right now just quickly. In 84 episodes, 15 bonus Org Night episodes, and 1 ARC episode, Beyond the Verse podcast has reached over 79 countries. That's up 2 month over month. So 79 countries, listening into 44.3 thousand plays and watching 48.1 thousand views. And that's just YouTube. That's not YouTube plus Spotify views. And our in-game organization Sole Provision grew to 210 Discord members, which as of last night, we're already at 221. So we've increased dramatically. And then 133 Spectrum members. So for the infographic, for all of you, if you want to pause your screen and look at this, again, this is you. This is your community, right? This is what we've created together in Sole Provision. And of course, the Beyond the Verse podcast. But this is about you. And I can't say it enough. Thank you for where we are currently in Sole Provision. and in Beyond the Verse podcast. Along those same lines, we do have more membership opportunities. I'm just going to touch on that very, very, very quickly. So my thought process, my philosophy around monetization. So we're on episode 85. If you've listened to the other 84 episodes, the theme has not changed. I have always said this is not for profit. I'm not trying to make a career out of creating this podcast or investing in Soul Provision as an organization. It's not why I'm here. It's not why I'm doing it. In fact, I've said many times now, for every dollar I make, that dollar goes right back into the show quality, the community quality, like Soul Provision. You're getting it right back. I have a phenomenal job. I've been blessed over at Amazon. I don't need this. I do it because I want to and I love to. But why I chose to monetize? So I chose to monetize because I want to be able to do more. My vision for the podcast and my vision for our organization, it goes beyond my disposable income that I get after bills and everything else I have to do as a father and as a husband, using my actual 9-to-5 job. So if I really, really, really want to lean in and do giveaways and create an environment, merchandise, products that you can take and actually make your own, make the community your own, all of that investment, I'll be honest with you, I kind of like the idea of hiring people to help me with my production, right? So to take these things off my plate, I would love to have a video editor, right? And over in Soul Provision, I would love for somebody to be paid, quite honestly, to manage that community in a theme or in a understanding of how I lead that organization. I will never sacrifice that quality. But I think I've made my point clear. It's more about opening up doors and getting over barriers that like money can sometimes come in and prevent. So that is why we monetize. Spotify is actually removing the listener support. So if you are still giving your disposable income over to Spotify, I appreciate it always. Of course, I'm blessed and thank you so much for that. But you need to stop before it actually leaves or actually is disabled in January. So what I've asked the community to do, if you still want to invest and you still believe in our vision and direction, go over to YouTube. That's why I created the YouTube channels. There's 2 different membership levels. I'll just quickly go through that. Because again, I don't want this podcast to be about, some self-serving, give me money. But over on YouTube, the first membership tier, it's $4.99 a month. It's just support. It's just supporting, just like listener support. That money goes to keep podcasts free. In fact, starting this episode, you won't hear any more advertisements on podcasts. So thank you so much. I can actually replace that because of the membership funds. So that's great. But you also have access in Soul Provision over in our Discord. You have access to a exclusive community channel. And so when I look at my bandwidth, again, between work and family and all that and the stuff that happens, I really only have time to do a few things when I get into Discord. And so I make that a point as I go to my supporters channel first, answer questions, say hello, address them. And then, of course, if I have time, I'll go through other echelons of the Discord and interact and engage, of course. But if I only have time to do 1 or 2 things, I hit up that support channel, respond to questions, again, support, fellowship, whatever you want to call it. So you get that access. Everything's kind of bucketized. I'm going to use the word bucketized in that first tier. Now the next tier is $9.99, and that's going to give you something I can tell you and something I can't tell you on YouTube. So what I can tell you is early access to videos, members only videos. This is kind of like your accessibility tier. If you want more videos and outside of Beyond the Verse, and you just want to become more engaged with the community or myself, this is like your accessibility tier. So right now, early access to videos, special videos, members only videos. But then what I can't tell you is if you are in that category of the $9.99 and you're a hauler, is what we call them, a hauler, you will be entered into a monthly giveaway. And that monthly giveaway, the way I've priced out the pledge store, it's $25 to about $50, but your name is going to be entered in for a drawing, and you're going to get an item from the CIG, or the Robert Space Industries pledge store. It's funny, YouTube won't let you say that on perks. They won't let you do it. They actually say that if you are a member, you need to have everybody receive that perk and not just one person receiving a perk. I kind of disagree. Like, everybody is getting the chance to win, right? It's not like everybody is going to get it and no one's going to get it. So I have a little bit of a dispute with how YouTube is blocking that piece, but just know, if you listen to the podcast, every month I'll be drawing names from that next level, our next tier membership. Okay. So anyways, that helps monetize, that helps build and develop what we're trying to do in 2025. When we get closer to the end of the year, I do have an episode planned where we talk about next year. We talk about 2025 or 2955, and we'll go through my vision statement for this podcast. So cool. Along the same lines, so if you listen to Spotify, if you have Spotify, you're very familiar with Wrapped. So here's my Wrapped analysis. I think this is fun. I first view this on my phone, so I actually don't know what the viewer experience is going to be like here on the computer. So we're going to do this together real time. It's always safe. But I just wanted to share with you, like I do my business, like the monthly reviews. This is basically that, but for the entire year. And again, just wanted to share with you. So Beyond the Verse Star Citizen podcast rep season is here. All right, you took it to a whole new level this year. Let's go. We gained 665% more listeners. All right. We have gained, this is huge. Come on, there we go. You gained 999% more streams. 900% followers. So yeah, this is only this is actually the first full year of growth. We actually started in 2023 around March timeframe. So that first year was only 7 months, or about 8 months, and then this has been the first full year. So these numbers, yeah, they're astronomical. It'll be interesting to see next year and what that looks like. All right. Give it up for your new fans. We got 82% of your listeners discovered you this year. That's fantastic. Your fans have a clear favorite. Your top episode was episode 80. Which is very recent. That's only 5 episodes ago. Episode 80, CitizenCon retrospective with Space Tomato, and that was a very, very good conversation with Keenan. It was streamed 164% more than our average episode. Let's keep going. Ever wondered who your audience is? Let's break it down. I love this so much. I'm such a metrics nerd. Listeners by age. All right. 35% of our listeners is between the ages of 35 and 44. That sounds about right. That's right in my price range. That's right in my age group. So I think we relate there. 23% is between 30 and 34. 20% is between 25 and 29. 11% is between 45 and 54. We have 8% being between 18 and 24, and then 3% of our listeners are above the age 55. God, I love numbers. Listener ages, well, that makes sense. So listeners ages 55 and up grew the most by 999%. That makes sense. The denominator is low, the numerator increased. That makes sense that you would have a huge number like that. Where in the world have you been? I love this. 79 countries. So here's a great infographic for this. In 2024, your show traveled the globe. This says you were streamed in 47 countries. So that's interesting. When I pull the analysis tab in Spotify, you can download the entire, all-time, the all-time geographic list and the all-time platforms that are used. And that showed 79. But we'll go with 47 countries. Feels like that's still a high number. United States obviously was our top country. Keep going on. Your fans have a great taste, obviously. Other than your show, they also loved Joe Rogan. I'll be very, very happy with that. I think he's a great. I model my delivery with interviews off of Joe Rogan's interview style. And then of course Space Tomato as number 2. Very cool. And then Captain's Table, Star Citizen podcast. Distractable number 4. I actually don't know anything about Distractable. Interesting. And then we got Timcast IRL. Music. Number 1, soundtrack. Number 2, rock. Number 3, rap. These are just basically, it's the listeners, how they categorize in Spotify. Audiobook genres. So sci-fi, fantasy, number 1. Fiction, literature, history, number 3. Like, how much of this describes you? As you're listening to this, do you fall into these categories? Super interesting. Listeners keep their eyes off you. Your show was in the top 10% of video podcasts on Spotify. Hold on. Listeners can't keep their eyes off you. Your show was in the top 10% of video podcasts on Spotify. Wow. That is the first time I've seen this. In all of Spotify, in all video podcasts, I was in the top 10%. Oh, okay. All right. Wow. All right, let's move on before I get too giddy. All right. Shout out to your biggest fans for keeping you at the top of your game. You're a top 10 show for 1.2K fans. 1.2 thousand fans put me as a top, or put us as a top 10 podcast. You're a top 5 show for 851 fans. You're the number 1 show for just under 200 fans. Your top fans listen to you 2.4 times more than your other listeners. Okay. Your creator personality, the storyteller. Okay. I wonder what that's all about. Your fans have entered the conversation. You had 70 comments, and episode 70, Ship Showdown and Star Citizen, was the most commented episode. We got 506 poll votes. That is formatted horribly, but it shows your most popular poll was, and I can't read that because it's not formatted. Your podcast rating is a 4.5. Hey, by the way, in this moment, let me just take a second. Go in and put a rating. You don't have to put 5. I'm not asking for a 5. I would love a 5. It helps us grow and it helps us reach more people. But put in your vote. Put in your rating in both this and over on YouTube. Like and subscribe. All that fun stuff. It helps us grow the community even more. So the majority of our listeners haven't done that. They haven't subscribed to YouTube. They haven't become a member, which is fine. That actually requires money. But they haven't put a rating as well. Please take a couple of seconds, hit that 5-star, go over on YouTube, like, subscribe, follow, all that fun stuff. I would greatly appreciate it. Community will greatly grow from it. Thank you for giving people something to talk about. I appreciate that, Spotify. You're welcome. Let's go ahead and wrap this up here. But it's not over yet. Keep the conversation going and share with your fans. So I think that's fun. Again, I struggle sometimes with, do I want to show this to you on a podcast? But at the end of the day, it's you. You are the 1.2 thousand fans, right, that have me as a top 10 podcast. You're part of that. So I just wanted to share the community growth there. Let's get into this last episode 2 weeks ago with the Spotify poll and comment section. Here we go. I asked the question, would you support a second tier membership at $9.99 a month that increases accessibility and is more personal outside of Star Citizen? We kind of already addressed it. There was 45.5% said yes, 36.4% said no, 18.2% said maybe, and they put additional information in comments. I did. I took also the same poll over in my Discord with the Soul Provision members, and with that, and actually fellowship with my wife and my brother who's down in San Antonio, I made the decision to pull that trigger. So, all right, to the comments section. All right, my name Blake, obviously a member in Soul Provision, so love you. Really appreciate your engagement in the podcast and inside the organization. But my name is Blake. Been loving this pod. So I loved it right back. Next comment, Sean. Good to see more guests on the show. Loving the opinions. Also, the quality of the new ships is very high with immaculate details and designs, but I feel that especially with ships like the Intrepid, the outside focus on the gun on a non-combat ship is misleading and could cause some ship fishing for someone who wants to get into dogfighting in Star Citizen. And about the membership, I was seriously considering supporting the first tier. It's just hard to do because I get paid bi-weekly. This goes to Sean, and for everybody else, give if you want. I will never require it. I will never expect it. If you're able to do it, blessings. Thank you so much. If you're not, dude, like, I don't see you or anybody else any differently. So just don't let that be a burden to you. I agree with you. I think it's super cool that a starter ship kind of is a jack of all trades, like a master of none, but a jack of all trades. So if you're not gonna be doing a hauling mission with an Intrepid. You can only put like 6 SCU on it. I think it's like three on the port side, 3 on the starboard side, SCUs. You're not going to do any hauling missions with it. So you're going to be doing delivery missions. It's basically a mule on wheel in flight. So take the mule, put an engine on it, put it up in flight or put it up in space, and that's basically what you got. I agree with you. I think it's, for me personally, you're right. You're not going to go and do a dogfight with the Intrepid, but it gives you enough to pop and scatter. Like, it gives you enough to maybe shoot back, take out maybe, and this is PvE, so like an NPC, right? You might be able to survive a little bit better if you have a starter ship that has a pretty solid, I think, size 2 weapon, size 3 weapon, size 2, I don't know. I don't mind a starter ship having that. Now, to your point, if you go up and you upgrade to like a hull A that is very, very obviously a delivery vehicle or a hauling vehicle. Now, if you put a freaking size 9 torpedo on on a hull A, yeah, I'm right there with you. Like, that is very confusing. It's going to give false confidence to new players. That hull A should be hiding in the shadows. It should be running away from NPCs and any sort of PvP opportunity. Like, if I see anything red, a red chevron on my screen, and I'm flying the whole A, I go the other direction. I don't even try. It's not even a concept. But Sean, I do think you make good points. Dreamer of Days, for inquiry. For clarification, would you kindly state the details on the Spotify poll, please? Is the Tier 2 membership through Spotify or another platform such as Patreon? What does increased accessibility and more personal outside Star Citizen mean? Did I have a stroke while you explain these details on the episode? As always, appreciate what you do for this org and this community. Give all your collaborators our affirmations. Okay, so I think we already talked about most of this. It's YouTube membership, and it's because the Spotify membership is going away. The listener support's going away. YouTube allows for the most growth. It actually has a really good payout structure. It's like 70% will go to the creator, 30% stays with YouTube. I think that's the breakdown. But yeah, the more accessibility. So we all have that creator that we follow. Like, for instance, Joe Rogan. I love Joe Rogan. Politics and social things aside, I love the way he has his interviews set up. I love the way he conducts his interviews. He's a master at what he does, and there's a reason why he's the #1 podcaster. If there was a pay structure to get more access to him, like, I don't know, seeing another side of him, getting, I'm making this up, but getting videos of like him and his family at Thanksgiving, or he gets on, a quick video and says, hey, to my members or to this level of supporters, Merry Christmas or Happy Thanksgiving, and like that additional layer of accessibility. I would love that. I would absolutely invest in that with like a Joe Rogan or some celebrity that you might like. Now, that's not me weirdly saying I'm a celebrity, but as we grow this org, Supervision, and as we grow this podcast to have even more CIG employees on and other content creators on for more in-depth interviews, I think that accessibility starts becoming more of like, hey, you're inside of the Discord while me and Starjump Grim are having a conversation, right? That level of accessibility. I think that addresses your questions. Last comment from Dakota Riley. IAE was fun, but a lot of the surprises they had in store didn't end up being as exciting as we thought. Maybe revealing most of your new ships at CitizenCon or having them available for open testing in the PTU for the better part of the month wasn't the best idea. I was hoping for something to come out of left field that would get the community hyped, like the Carrick variants, which is what me and Starjump Grim said 1 episode ago. Or maybe a surprise release of the Guardian or Fortune. At least I snagged a Pioneer and other Hull limited ships. Yeah, congratulations on all your pull, Dakota Riley. I saw all the growth of your fleet over the last 2 weeks, so congratulations there. I agree. And this actually ties a little bit into the theme for today's episode. 4.0 is right around the corner. We don't know if it's in the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, if it's Q1 of 2025. No one freaking knows. I think there are some good indicators that it's coming. But one of the main reactions that I have towards 4.0 is, I mean, it's already out. It's already out. Like, all you got to do is pay $10. Pay $10 to become a subscriber with CIG, and you'll have access to the Wave 1 ePTU. 4.0 is there. Go play it. Right? I know not everybody has it. I know not everybody has it, nor will everybody, get into the ePTU and try out 4.0. But it kind of plays into this sentiment that was just expressed. Is like when you tease or when you give access to something so paramount to the majority of the community or to a lot of the community, it waters down the wow factor when it does actually hit live PU. Again, not for all, not even for most, but for a lot of the community. And so I went in it. I'm a podcaster. I'm a content creator. I need to know what is happening in Pyro and what that experience is like. So absolutely, I've been in Pyro. I haven't jumped yet because I want that to be with sole provision, but I've been in it. And so I'm not going to have the awe and excitement of going to Bloom. I think it's Pyro 3, but going to Bloom for the first time. I've already been there. I've already been to Bloom. And it's a beautiful planet, right? But that's gone for me. And that's gone for a lot of the community. And so I think the sentiment is if 4.0 does go to the rest of the PTU, and it's open to all waves, the whole PTU, and let's say a third, maybe half the community goes in and plays, doesn't that take away from that wow factor of when it actually does hit live PU? Everybody's already been in it. Everybody's already jumped, right? So I don't know. I think that's what happened to IAE. We had the PTU structure that allowed us to play with the Terrapin Medic, the F7C Hornet Mark IIs, the Intrepid. It allowed us to do the Polaris was also available. So I think when we got into that, we knew what was coming. That was it. That was IAE. The Guardian was announced, but that wasn't even in the pledge store. You couldn't even do anything with it. It was like, hey, this is coming. All right, moving on. So that was, I don't know. I agree. There wasn't like a lot of, big wow surprises during IAE that we thought. And that even Starjump Grim thought. Remember, we were talking about Carrack variants. We were talking about getting the new blast shield and the new cargo within the Carrack, even though we know that was later announced to be for 4.0. But this is all what we were expecting or maybe hoping for, and it didn't come to fruition. So totally relate to that. We have a couple more. We have an email to get through, and then I actually want to go ahead and do our giveaway. So let's do the email. We'll get into the giveaway, and then we'll actually finally get into This Week in Star Citizen. So here we go. All right. To the emails, I don't share my screen during emails because I don't want to dox anybody, but this is from Shipco. Excuse me. Hey, Sulyce. Love the latest show as always and found Starjump Grim to be a super interesting guy and made some great points. I wanted to comment on number 1. Cargo hauling is also number 1 for me in my book and my reason for getting into Star Citizen in the first place. I came from flight simulators but wanted a career-oriented nature to the flying after joining the verse in 2951. I got hooked immediately on cargo hauling and have had a blast ever since. I can't wait to be part of the supply chain fueling for our org's Pioneer when base building comes online. Number 2, the Misk Hole A was my first standalone ship, that I bought and was an awesome cargo hauler for the longest time before CCUing up to the C1 and eventually to my Starlancer Max. All are fantastic cargo ships, but you can't go wrong with the Hull A. Number 3, I love wipes. It makes me sad that CIG has said they'll do away with them in 1.0, because often it's when I'm most excited for the future of the game. Would love to see them consider wipes for major development milestones post 1.0. And number 4, lastly, we all play games because we love them and because they're fun, and Star Citizen certainly isn't for everyone. It can get frustrating talking about features that are still 5 years away, but those of us in the community know just how exciting it feels to be on the cutting edge. You can absolutely buy a starter package and have a blast and never spend another dime. Considering that most games are $60, you're opening yourself up to a truly wild ride for less than that. Sorry for the long email. Love your show as always. Keep up the amazing work. A lot of sentiment there to get through. I agree with everything Shipko said. Congratulations on your Starlancer Max. I love the Starlancer Max. There's something RP heavy with that ship. I don't know what makes it that way, but I love the idea of waking up early. Like, I always bedlog out of ships. Waking up, going and RPing, coffee in the kitchen, and then, getting your SCU boxes prepared and ready, because every ship should have a 1 SCU container inside their ship for personal items, in my opinion. But getting that ready, making sure you have everything like that is absolutely a phenomenal ship. Starlancer Max. I know it got nerfed. I know they made it slower. I don't care. It's a hauler. You're not supposed to be racing with it. It's a hauler. It's supposed to be hauling. The rest I absolutely agree with. The hull A, I still have a hull A. I still to this day have a hull A. And it will continue to be in my fleet. I will always have it because it's just a really great and very fast delivery mission or small hauler mission. And everything's external, so you can just stand in one spot and just quickly load and offload without having to walk up a ramp or take things off. It's a powerhouse. We also have an email from Prime Entity with a lot of screenshots. We're actually going to get through that throughout the episode. Just have it as background kind of B-roll material. But thank you again, obviously, for continuing to send over your artwork. It's very well done. I really do appreciate it. So thank you so much. Okay, giveaway time. All right. I love this. I absolutely love this. This is the raw data. We had 227 responses. 227 responses. This is for the giveaway for the Crusader Intrepid starter pack, or the Crusader Intrepid lifetime insurance plus the Star Citizen digital download. So again, we had 227 responses. I have already hidden the columns that have personal information. Don't want anybody to get doxxed. So you're going to see this like I've done in other episodes. You're going to see me do this live for fairness. So if I do have an officer in sole provision who wins, I'm going to give them the freaking gift because they earned it, right? But this is how I do this. This is my third or fourth giveaway straight from CIG. So first off, thank you CIG for the donation. This is what I will always do in front of everybody. So here we go. All right, the command is Rand. And we're going to open and close that bracket. It's going to give us a random integer less than 1. And then every time I edit this, it's going to change the numbers. So I just have to do this a few more times. Boopty boop boop. And now we're good. So that equation is now text. It won't change whenever I sort. I'm going to take this column header. Why am I going blank here? Filter. We're going to sort the place by the largest number and our winner with 0.998 as the rank. We have Pecky Trash. Boom, you are the winner. And so I will unhide this, get the personal information, share out to Pecky Trash that they are the winner. So congratulations, you are the winner of a Crusader Intrepid, a phenomenal starter ship with lifetime insurance and a digital game download. Love it. Seriously, congratulations. Okay, speaking of the Crusader Intrepid, let's just stay with this theme. We have a lot of polls. In fact, if you're looking at my screen right now, we have like 20 tabs open. Not all polls, but we just have a lot to get through. So speaking of the Crusader Intrepid, I asked a lot of would you get this throughout IAE. So whenever there was a new ship announced, hey, did you get it? Which version did you get? For Crusader Intrepid, I asked, will you be picking up the newest starter from Crusader? And so this hit 1.2 thousand views, 236 votes, 53.8% said hell to the nah. They were not interested in the Crusader Intrepid. 25.4% said yes in the pledge store, meaning real game money. And then 20.8% said yes, they will be picking up the Intrepid, but with in-game UEC. That breakout is pretty, it's pretty aligned. It's a starter ship, number one. So if you're already beyond the starter ship phase, which is a lot of people, you're probably not going to go back and get another starter ship. It's asymmetrical, and these are themes. These are not my opinions. These are themes throughout the 236 votes. It's asymmetrical. You heard the comment earlier about the weird weapon system attached to the right shoulder of the Intrepid. The cargo, this actually is my opinion. The cargo is really hard to get to. When you drop the port and starboard side cargo holds or elevators, taking a tractor beam and trying to move that without hitting everything around it, it's kind of annoying. It's a really, really tight fit. But those are my gripes. Those are the gripes that I heard. I love this as a starter ship. I know it's not the Avenger Titan. I know we don't say the Cutlass Black as a starter ship, but it's not one of those. It's not the hard-hitting, starter ships that you're going to hear a lot of people talk about. The Nomad is a phenomenal pickup truck, in my opinion. But the Intrepid is right up there, in my opinion. It is a very well done ship. It looks great. I think it looks great. It cosmetically, aesthetically looks really good. I'm a fan of the sharp edges. I'm a fan of seeing the engine in the back, right? The back part of the ship, just like the Mercury Star Runner. I love seeing it. It has that that roadster feel to it. It sounds great. The visibility inside of it is phenomenal. It is a great starter ship for what you're getting. I can see the why behind the way you voted on this. The 53.8% saying hell to the nah. But I personally am a huge fan. And while I have the Intrepid still on top of my mind, I'm going to go ahead and share this as kind of news. But for anybody who had the Crusader Intrepid or purchased the Crusader Intrepid during IAE, they were given a free paint called the Nocturne paint. You're seeing it on my screen here. It's a really beautiful, it's actually not black. It's more of like a, I don't know, gray, maybe dark blue, like super dark blue with royal blue highlights, almost a purple. People are going to start debating colors. Is it a gold dress or is it a white dress? I would say that that's a royal blue. It's a kind of a lighter version of that dark blue that I was talking about, but it looks good. It looks really good. It looks like something you would see, on one of these. I had a next door neighbor as a kid growing up who had a Shelby Cobra, and it was this paint scheme, right? It was black for the most part, but the highlights on it were blue. And so this reminds me of that Shelby Cobra as a kid growing up, but I think it's beautiful. There's that center picture, this picture right here in the middle, that engine bay in the back. I think it looks cool. I think it looks great. I don't know if it makes sense. In the lore or in the physics of Star Citizen, but I think it looks good. And again, it sounds good. So, boom, there you go. Just wanted to share that as we were on topic. And again, I feel like I'm all over the place at this point. Back to the polls. We also had Alien Day. Again, we had 2 weeks of IAE where you didn't hear from me. So these polls are kind of scattered throughout, but I think they're great conversations. So Alien Day comes around. It was one of the least, when I asked people what they were looking forward to the most, the least amount of people said the Alien Day. In fact, let me just show you that infographic real quick because it's me. So in that 227 response, that the giveaway that we just did, one of my first questions, or one of the questions I ask, is which days of IAE are you looking forward to the most? And so out of that 227 responses, you could select all that applies. So we have more responses than we have votes. So if you add these up, this is obviously more than 227. But that lowest number right here is the Gaddock, Opoa, Banu, and Hesperia. Right? Only 30 people, or only 30 votes, right, voted for this. So it is our lowest number. So of the 4 manufacturers featured that day, which alien manufacturer is your favorite? And tell us why in the comments. And just like that low interest in the day. We had a low interest in the poll. People don't care about the alien ships. It's just something that happens every year. Alien week comes around and it's the same, like, who cares? We're going to get like a paint job. It's fine. And then we just move on. It's not a lot of sales. We don't really have a lot of progress. There's not a lot of attention. Now, what I will say is if you watch the Squadron 42 demo in CitizenCon, the new versions of the alien ships look phenomenal. They look great. They look like they're going to be very well done. I think we'll start seeing the alien ships improve and increase in popularity when that happens. But as of right now, I feel like just no one really cares. 687 views, only 98 votes. 33.7% said Banu was their favorite. Then we have 30.6% say the Gaddick, 27.6% say Asperia, and then 8.2% says Apoa. Moving on. Day of Industry. So this is whenever we had Argo, Consolidated, Outland, Grey Cat, and Kruger on. Asked the same question. So we have 4 manufacturer leaders of industry. Which manufacturer are you most excited for? I think this one's pretty obvious. Argo will always win until the other 3 vendors or manufacturers do something different. Argo is the leader of this industry. So Argo 52.5%, Consolidated Outlander 33.3%, Grey Cat with 10.7%, and Kruger with 3.4%. I don't think there's really any surprises there. Pioneer did really well this IAE, and I think that was obvious given all of its attention that we had from CitizenCon. But I will also say that we saw it available in the pledge store for quite some time. Like usually the whole ships or the limited whole ships are gone within seconds. But I remember checking an hour, 2 hours later, and I still saw that there were ships available, the Pioneer. Now that might have something to do with them, I don't know if you would call this nerfing, but them removing the land grab. So the 8 kilometer by 8 kilometer stake that you get, so that we were promised whenever you got the Pioneer. If you already had the Pioneer, you keep it. That's still going to be your thing. But all the new sales that happened in the last like 2 weeks, you're not getting a land grab, and that might have something to do with it. Maybe I have no other intel. That's just me guessing at this point. All right, Terrapin Medical. We had the Terrapin Medical, and I'll show you like a video in just a second. But the Terrapin Medical and the F7C Hornet Mark II came out on the same day. This is Anvil Day. I asked, will you be getting one or both of the known releases today? Tell us why in the comments. Again, I mean, 2,000 views, 326 votes, but an overwhelming 60.7% saying no. They're not going to get the Terrapin Medical. They're not going to get the F7C Hornet Mark IIs. We had 18.4% say yes, the Nurgle. We had 11% say yes to both, and 9.8% yes, either the Ghost or the Tracker, so the F7C Hornets. Yeah, I'll get into the medical here in a second, but while we're here, let me just throw over to the announcement video. So here is the Terrapin Medic, phenomenal ship. It finally gives the Terrapin like a cause, so I will support this. I actually bought one. I ended up buying one with the Concierge like yellowish greenish paint, and I'll be very honest with you, I put that dude inside of my hanger, my persistent hanger, in the corner next to the medical entrance, and I've left it there. So that way when I leave and when I land in my hangar, I have a medical bed ready to go. I don't plan on flying it unless things change or unless there's like a reason for it later down the road. This just puts a hospital inside of my personal hangar. But what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the Terrapin Medic? Leave it in the comment section. Obviously, I would love to hear your opinions about it. Not a bad ship. It's not the best. People were calling it a drop ship. It's absolutely not a drop ship. It's got a bed to sit on. or lay in. It's got a like a drop seat. It's got like a little fold out seat, so that's 2 people. Then you've got the pilot, which is 3 people. The rest are going to be standing, so you can't really call it a drop ship in that sense. And there's just other better quote unquote drop ships, right? So the Cuddy Red, I will stand by and fight with anybody. That the Cutlass Red at this current moment is still probably the best drop ship. 2 beds, a lot of places to sit. There's 3 other beds in there too, so that right there is already a squad size, right? So pilot, co-pilot, the 2 beds, that's 4. Medical beds, 5, 6, that's 6 people, so close to a squad. That whatever. I think the Cutlass Red is going to be the best. You can say the Apollo Medic and the Apollo Triage, when those come out, they could be considered drop ships. Non-dropship dropships, because it's not the Valkyrie, right? Roger, I get it. So there's the Terrapin Medic. Let's move on. IE Best in Show. This was interesting. So I don't know if I want to address it here on podcast. Whatever. I'll give you all the Reader's Digest. I created a post. I'm not really happy with the consistent year-over-year Saint paint jobs. Or it's the same color scheme but just lighter, regardless of it being purple, right? It's the same paint scheme over and over and over again. So the comment that I made was, I missed 2952. 2952's Best in Show was a black and red. Now, if you've listened to 84 episodes of my podcast, that's my color scheme. If I could do everything in black and red, I would. Right? So of course I'm going to look back at 2952 and say, absolutely. Like, I love that color scheme. Compare it to this year's like plum purple. It's a very dull purple. And we just had purple last year, like purple and green, I think was like the color scheme last year. I made the comment, like, are we happy with this? Like, I personally think this in 2952 looked a lot better than this in 2954. And unfortunately, there were a lot of responses, some direct messages and some on that thought that that was a political or social statement. And so, whatever. I want to be very clear that on this podcast, if you're listening to me, colors don't identify with me. I don't identify with colors. It's a freaking color. In my closet right now, I've got white shirts with like pink pinstripes. It looks very good in certain seasons. Makes my skin tones look good. Like, purple's a great color. Purple's the color of royalty, right? So like to somehow insinuate that it's not a masculine color, or that I am somehow against a community because I prefer black and red as a paint scheme up in space. I think that's reading too much into my comments. I just preferred the black and red more. All right. That's that drama. I think I've covered it. The question I asked right after that was, will you be picking up either the Best in Show pack with or without the F8C Lightning with the typical purple livery? Reminder, the Best in Show complete pack with the F8C Lightning is only available if you have redeemed your gold license at an in-game rental. 845 views, 78 votes, 76.9% said no, 15.4% said yes, complete pack with F8C, and 7.7% said yes, Best in Show pack without the F8C. I think we covered it. I don't want to beat a dead horse. Got a couple more polls, and then let's get into 4.0 for this week. And this is actually a phenomenal segue. Okay, choice for 4.0. We already talked about 4.0 being in the ePTU and people being in it, and they know a lot about 4.0 and Pyro. So I just asked the question, where are you considering your permanent residence in 4.0? Now this hit hard. This was a big poll. Just under 3,000 views, 658 votes, 74.8% said that they're going to remain in Stanton, right? So either Crusader or one of the other 3. That's very surprising. And I'm actually super, like, again, at a 658 votes, statistically, it's very hard for this other thing to happen. But 8.8%, 8.2%, and 8.2%, a very, very, very close tie for second, or a very close placement for second, was Ruin Station, Checkmate, and Obituary. That's super, super interesting statistically speaking. Obituary is the station that's right outside of Bloom. Bloom is a fan favorite already. It's a beautiful, beautiful planet. So that makes sense to me why we would kind of get a little bit of an edge against Ruin Station and Checkmate. But it's crazy to think out of that many votes, we have basically a three-way tie for second place. But the remaining in Stanton makes sense as well. They want their stuff protected. They don't want to have to, like, every single time you get in the game, you have to defend yourself from other players. So I think what it's going to end up being is you set your permanent residence in Seraphim Station, or not, well, no, your permanent residence in like an Orison, but then you would set your respawn location maybe in Pyro. If you plan on staying in Pyro for quite some time, you go and you do your thing in Pyro, and a week, 2 weeks, a month, however long, and then you go back to Stanton, reset your region location at another location there in Stanton. So I can almost see that being the case. Permanent residence Stanton, your temporary region location wherever you plan on doing your weekly operations. So super interesting. I think that's cool. I will obviously be in Stanton. Lore-wise to Soul Provision, I will always probably pick Crusader as my planet. So, all right, moving on. Again, before we get into this week in Star Citizen, we got a couple of things from 2 weeks ago. Save Stanton. So I just want to take a second. I'll go ahead and share my screen let's do this. I'll share my screen for those of you who just want something else to look at. This has been a phenomenal event. Does it have its issues? Yes. We talked a little bit about the issues when we had Starjump Grim on, again, 2 weeks ago, but they did come out with all 4 phases. So phase 1 through phase 4. Phase 3 is probably the most problematic with the Idris, and I think most people are like, they're falling off of the interest level around phase 3 because it's just difficult. To find the people to get there, to actually find an Idris at location, like those are all issues. But if you're able to make it to phase 4, that is some of the most fun. It is the most fun that I've had from a solo perspective in Star Citizen to date. They nailed it with phase 4. And I know a lot of you are going to say, well, it's just another cargo hauling mission. Big deal. There's something about it. There's something about going all around Stanton to get, either to buy or to mine ore for the resupply mission at the Pyro jump point. There's something about it. I did this all in probably 2 days across maybe 3 hours. I got the Zeus CL, which is my everyday flyer at this point. I love that ship. But I RP'd the hell out of this mission. I would wake up. I would wake up in Orison. I would walk without my helmet on. I know that's a thing, like taking off your helmet, putting it in your backpack. That's like an additional steps that some people don't want to do. Sorry for those of you on video. I know that's what people don't want to do. They kind of skip that step, but I did it, walked out in F4. So I was, in third person. If there was a stand with drinks or food, I would stop and actually do that. I never once used a medical bed to heal up. I actually used in-game commodities like that, like food and water. But getting the CL pulled out and putting a 1 SU box right in the middle of the cargo hold that has a bunch of other extra stuff in it, some crew bottles, to keep me hydrated throughout my, my tenure. But then using the weapons locker, this is the coolest piece in my opinion. Using the weapons locker in the back to put the 2-handed tractor beams, the 1-handed tractor beam, and I put pistols at the very top. But having those slots back there for pure cargo missions, and then having the other weapons locker up in the cockpit for actual weapons. I put P4s in the rifle slots, Coda pistols up top, and the white paramedic guns in the very bottom. But just going through the process of outfitting the Zeus, knowing I'm getting ready for an outfit mission, I freaking love everything about that. Everything about it. I took crews out of my SCU box and stationed them and put them in the kitchen, like little kitchenette area. Put them in the drawers, like put them in the refrigerator. I don't know. I've never played a game that's like this. I've never played a game that has this level of immersion with persistent entity streaming, knowing it was going to be there the next day when I got in. I love the RP factor so much. I personally did I did the one where you had to go to like Creel 5 to get nitrogen, and then Woodford over there in Hurston. I forgot what the actual the mining facility was, but going there to get the agricultural supplies, and then there was like another one. But anyways, I did that like 6 times because it was just I knew the routes. It was super easy to do, but awesome screenshots, awesome, again, hydrating in between the missions and delivering them to the Pyro jump point. I want to know how you enjoyed it. If you did phase 4, how did you do it? Did you RP it at all? Did you do the cheese method, right? The cheese method was you filled up your ship with as many of that cargo as possible, and then you just sat at the Pyro jump point and just turned in mission, drew a new mission, turned in another mission, and you just sit there and just did that 6 times. I didn't. I chose to RP it and go back and forth. I'm that crazy. But how did you do it? Did you enjoy it? I freaking enjoyed everything about that. So Save Stanton. The last thing I'll say about Save Stanton, getting the rewards is super wonky. So once you finish phase 4 and you're 6 out of 6, you have to do it a 7th time. Don't ask me why. There's an issue. There's a known issue. In fact, on the announcements in Spectrum, it says this is a known issue and we're addressing it. Until then, do the workaround. Well, the workaround is doing a 7th mission and choose to do a different one. So again, I did that same one 6 times. Then I chose to do a different version of phase 4 the 7th time, and it was immediate. Once I finished it, I got credit for it, had the armor in my hangar, good to go. So that's been pretty wonky for those trying to get through Save Stanton. But the last thing I'll say, try to get through phase 3. Phase 3 it's tough. It's a tough one, not because of a challenge in the game, not because it's hard, but because it just doesn't happen. I spent hours, at 1 hour, 2 hours, trying to do phase 3, and I wouldn't even see an Idris for that time that I was in the game. So good luck to you. May the server gods be in your favor, and you get put into the right server at the right time. All right, we are now down to 8 tabs left. Still 2 weeks ago, roadmap update. I think this is important. We'll go very quickly through this. Again, 2 weeks ago, for November 27th, we had the roadmap roundup for the release view. So the following deliverables have completed the final review for Alpha 4.0. Therefore, we are changing their status to committed. That's server meshing version 1, jump points, and then the rest are Pyro locations. But and I'm so sorry. And the fauna, the quasi-grazer, which are the cows, then outposts colonialism, right? It's a small home for AI to live and shelter that consists of a central hub and a few optional internal and external modules. So we have some new locations, we have some new features. I think the latest patch hints at a new HUD that's going to be released as well, so heads-up display. I think the biggest piece here, server meshing version 1, that's committed. That's what we needed to get into Pyro. It's committed. It's happening. Now, which version of that, like which build, is it the 22380 or is it the 33500? That's to be determined. I think that's where the confusion for me personally is, and we'll get into that towards the end of this podcast. We are now about an hour into the podcast. We are now in This Week in Star Citizen. I will not read you what happened this past week because I've already done it. So moving on. So This Week in Star Citizen, we have on Monday we had the IAE 2954 finale. On Tuesday we had the subscriber flare. On Thursday, we had the Inside Star Citizen, the music of Pyro. And then today, after recording this episode, we will have Star Citizen Live about crafting your home. So you base builders out there, I'll be watching this. That's why I started recording on the earlier side, because I really want to watch this. But kind of a light week, and that's why I took the liberty that I did for the last hour to really get into everything else. So first up, the December promotions. Okay, so you see all the promotions on the screen. We're clearly getting ready for Pyro. Like, obviously, we've seen the Dying Star paint. This is what you're looking at right here on the two ships. The Dying Star paint, a couple of subscriptions ago, we saw it on the Vulture and the Corsair. I did that by memory. You should be proud of me. So the Corsair and the Vulture. And then here we have it on the Cutlass and we have it on the Cutter. So clearly, now last December we had potted plants. So I asked the question about, are we going to see something better than potted plants? And thank God we did. I actually like these paint schemes. We have a paint scheme on a knife, a serrated bladed knife, and then we've got obviously the two paint jobs. Let's go through real quick, read a little bit about it, and let's go. So the Castic Arms Sawtooth Sunspike Combat Knife, that is your Centurion level subscriber item. So there you go. It's a really badass looking knife. A lot of people in my community don't use knives. I do. I actually do. I actually try my best to do bunker missions in a very clandestine way. I like hiding in the shadows, walking up behind somebody, pulling out the knife, making it happen. It's a very quick way to take out a bunker because you don't have to shoot and hide behind anything. You just walk up and do the deed. So I actually like the knives, but cosmetically, you don't really see a lot of the knife unless you're in third person, turn around looking at your right hip, right? So it's very rare that you see it. So I think people put less value in a knife cosmetic, but I like it nonetheless. Looks great. Moving on to the Dying Star paints. So the Imperator level subscriber gets the Cutter Dying Star paint. Very well done. If you're familiar with the Corsair, the Vulture, it's basically that for the Cutter. I didn't see anything that really stood out as, good design decision, but what I did like was on the Cutlass. So here's the Cutlass. This picture doesn't include it. That's a bummer. I'll have to find a picture that does. But I liked how they put on the left and the right VTOLs, the vertical takeoff and landing aspects of the ship. They really made the graffiti look really good on those, and I can't describe it unless I find you the photo. So stand by for that until I find that photo for you. Let me scroll up. Is it on this or is it too far away? I mean, you can barely make this out, but there's graffiti on the right hip of that VTOL and on the left hip of the VTOL. It just looks good. It looks like, I don't know, very deliberately placed. I think they did a good job on the Cutter, or on the Cutlass. The Cutter just looks like when you're driving on a highway and you see graffiti on the wall. That's what the Cutter looks like, which is fitting for a Cutter. Moving on. All right, we also have the Drake Paint Pack. Oh, you can see it better here. Here we go. The Drake Paint Pack for the Dying Star. You get the Corsair, the Cutter, the Vulture, and the Cutlass. There you see on the Cutter. It almost looks like skulls. It almost looks like they, because the black for eyes here, it almost looks like the tattoos or graffiti makes out a skull on both of the hips. So I like that personally. Let's talk about price. I don't know. I don't know a lot of people who go out and buy this, but the knife is $4. The Dying Star paint for the Cutter is $5. The Cutlass is $7, and that pack that we were just talking about is $25.60. Quickly on the ships, good lord, Centurion. The Centurion get the Cutlass Black, and the Imperator get the Starfarer. So the Starfarer is a solid ship. You should check that out. It's fun to fly. I have one, but I don't know. I probably will upgrade it until the refueling operation becomes more of a thing in Star Citizen. So, okay. So like we said, later throughout this week, this past week, we had IAE wrap up. I don't really want to get into this. We spent the first hour talking about IAE and the reactions. What are your thoughts? This is going to be my question, or what I would like for you to answer in the comment section on Spotify, obviously over on YouTube. How was IAE for you this year? Did you get the ships that you wanted? Right? Did you miss out on some of the whole ship opportunities, even after they offered it a second time? Which I wonder what that was for. What the reason for that was, but. I would love to hear how you walked away from this IAE compared to other IAEs, or if it was your first, what'd you think of it? I love these events. They're grand in nature, and they bring the community together in one location, and I think it's a phenomenal event. Again, I'm not going to get into it. What I will get into, though, maybe the Academy was also wonky. Have you gotten all your rewards from completing the Academy? I guarantee you there's a lot of you out there that are listening to me livid that you still don't have your awards. Yeah, it's weird. So you set out, so let me just, better if I show you. Okay. So you set out to do 1 of 5 tasks, right? You could either do the tutorial to get the first step done, actually going to the showroom floor to visit IAE. Task 3 is combat, 4 is hauling, 5 is industry. And so they said if you completed any of the entry level like certifications before IAE, you would get credit. And if obviously you can't redo certification missions. So if you're trying to do combat and you did combat, several months ago and you had that certification done, it's not like you could go back and redo it just to make sure that you got credits. Well, that's a lot of people. A lot of people have done the certifications for combat and haven't gotten credit for it. Same thing with hauling and industry. A lot of people are mining and selling that ore or refining that ore and not getting credit for it. So there's a lot of known issues with this, which I'm curious how they're going to remedy, given that you had until yesterday, December 5th. You had until yesterday to get this done. I luckily got mine, and maybe it's because I filed a issues ticket several days ago, but I did get credit for the tourist, I did get credit for hauling, and I did get credit for the industry. I had to do mining like 4 or 5 times before I got credit for that. But what you don't see here is combat. So, and I did combat like at the beginning of the year or whenever 324 dropped. So, I don't know. Good luck to you. File a ticket. If you do screenshots, file a ticket and you will more than likely be taken care of. But this is an ongoing issue that CIG recognizes and they are currently working on. So, a little bit of patience. We are nothing but, patient as a community for the most part. Okay. I think we are now caught up to the Wave 1 notes. Okay. An hour and 15 minutes, and we're now to the namesake of the episode. 4.0. Where the hell are you? Okay. So, originally supposed to arrive, and this is going off of Jared Huckabee this past December, January, inside Star Citizen. We were supposed to have Pyro by summer. Okay. So we get through Q1, we get through Q2. It is pushed out from summer into more of a, I think they went straight Q4. At some point in Q4, right? It'll launch. Okay. So people, expected 2 things, or expected 1 thing and got, pushed back. Now we're in Q4. Well, there's 3 weeks left. There's 3 weeks left in Q4. And the PTU, the ePTU, I personally think is not stable enough to call it a close consideration for live. Now, if you've listened to 84 episodes of this podcast, yes, I know that the ePTU is not built to be optimized. It's not built to run smoothly. It's built to test. It's built to force people to do certain things, and missions are turned off, and it is. It's supposed to be rough. But even the things that we expect to work for seasoned testers, it feels pretty off. It feels like we're a lot further away than it coming out in 3 weeks. Okay, so there's one view. The second view is they've changed the mesh configuration. So what does that mean? They've been doing a 2-2-380, which means 2 servers for Stanton, 2 servers for Pyro, with a maximum player total of 380. They've been doing that this whole entire ePTU. Up until here recently, literally this last patch that hit yesterday, they increased the mesh configuration to 3 servers in Stanton, 3 servers in Pyro, and 500 players total on the mesh. That means something. That I don't know what that means. I literally mean it means something. I think they have enough data. I think they have enough learnings from the 2-2-380 that they wanted to stretch and see what else broke if they increased the DGSs and they increased the player count. And that's what the purpose of this is. If that is the case, then we are in a good place. It means that, you shoot higher, you're going to break some things. So when you settle, like when you pull back a little bit, you settle in a more stable state. And if we are there, then I can see 4.0 launching in the next 3 weeks. Now, should they? No. You're hearing it from me probably for the first time this year. I do not want them to launch 4.0 this year. Here's why. Next week is Luminalia. Luminalia is going to hit. They could very easily say, happy holidays, here's freaking 4.0. And we're all going to get in, right? And what's going to happen? What's going to happen? You can probably answer this before I even say anything. Shit's going to break, right? Shit's going to break. But they're on hiatus. They're on December holiday break. They don't come back until early to mid-January. Unless they operate in shifts and they rotate and they have a very, skeleton crew addressing massive issues of a 4.0 server meshing giant of this tech pillar, I don't see it happening, guys. I don't see it happening. I think 4.0, I think it should stay wave 1 ePTU, but I think 4.0 goes full PTU, and they wait to launch it into the live PU until January. I don't see it happening any other way. Let me share my screen. So these are the latest patch notes. So everything I literally just said is here. So you'll see down here the mesh configuration. Here's your 33500, 3 servers in Stanton, 3 servers in Pyro, 500 players total on the mesh. We still have some pretty significant known issues, which some of these are fine. I could get away with the sound coming in and out during a jump point. Like I could get away with that. A lot of new features and gameplays were entered in this one. Locations, AI, gameplay, ships and vehicles, an advanced flight HUD. This is new, guys. This is new. Core attack, dynamic audio polish. Like this, it's good. It's good when you see them throw extra stuff in, meaning like they're ready for something, right? They're ready to execute something. But I think that something is full PTU. I don't think it's the live PU yet, guys. So let me just I'll end on this. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on where Pyro is in this current moment? Again, it is December 6th at 8:41 a.m. U.S. Central. Where are we with 4.0? There's not a lot else to go off of. I've been playing a lot in the ePTU. I've been going to Bloom a lot. I try to do a delivery mission, which they just give you they don't even give you the location name. It literally says location name. And you're like, okay, where the hell do I go for this? So there's a lot of things that are broken in that sense. But the missions that are live, they're working. Things are working in a very Star Citizen way. But is it enough to go live? Has to go live next week. It has to. If it's going to go live, it's got to go live in the next week, because that would give the following week time to put out fires, and then they're gone. I would love to hear your thoughts. I am so sincere about that. I'm taking a poll. I am absolutely taking a poll. But I'll wrap up by saying this. Full PTU next week. It stays in the full PTU for the rest of the year. And then it hits live PU in January. Tell me I'm wrong. All right, we will end on Inside Star Citizen. This video, first off, music is my thing, audio design is my thing, so this Inside Star Citizen was huge for me. It's amazing what Pedro does, Pedro Camacho, what he does in the music world. I mean, if you remember the Future of Gaming video in the last CitizenCon, so CitizenCon 2953, a phenomenal soundtrack. I can't wait until that becomes available to have and own. This is phenomenal, but also just as beautiful as the music. You'll see fully rendered what Pyro is supposed to look like, not ePTU, but what Pyro is supposed to look like. So if you haven't, turn on the Spotify video, go over on YouTube and watch this piece. This is Inside Star Citizen 4.0 music of Pyro, dealing with composer Pedro Camacho. Here we go.
I'm going to ask you the easiest question in the whole world, Pedro. What does music mean to you?
Music for me, since I was very young, is like breathing. It's been a good friend over many years. I couldn't imagine myself living without creating music. It's just extremely important to me. Jump points. Majestic, dreamy, and adventurous. I was seeing the concept art, the very first concept art, for quite a long time, and it was very special. It was not just like a click and you're there. It was like an event by itself. And I think Stanton does it in a very beautiful way. And I want the music to feel exactly the excitement that I feel when I look at it for the first time. I try to portray the music as if you were going to a different state of matter. Jump point, the music becomes suddenly more synthetic and more the synths take over the orchestra. I wanted people to feel you're somewhere else, that where laws of physics don't really apply. Since I was a kid, I really loved hearing CDs of the old classics from Beethoven, etc., but also from synth. So I tried to make kind of an homage to the old school synth scoring. It just made sense to use that on the jump point. Make it very epic. Trying to condense my whole life experience into one place. We believe that having one single track for a planet, it's not enough. When you get out of quantum and you see a planet just like a sphere, we thought that it would be great if there was like just a very small stinger just telling you what you're about to expect. As if an echo of the soul of the planet. Making sure that you understand you are in the outskirts of Pyro 1. We want it to be ambiguous, so the music should feel always ambiguous because you don't know what to expect when you go down there. What will come up when I land and get out of the ship. If it's peaceful and there's no danger and there's nothing threatening you, then the track that I created, which is very, peaceful and beautiful, depending on the planet, of course, should come up. So it's like a 3-stage approach. It's kind of almost like you're in a cinematic experience, going down to the surface. When I saw Pyro 3 for the first time, I thought it was absolutely beautiful planet. I really loved it. It's kind of strange, right? That you are in a supposedly dangerous system with such beautiful planets. This is a planet where I believe we should merge orchestra with synths and vocals and just create a classy but modern experience. There's some eerie sounds in it, but everything very subtle. I don't want people to feel, oh, this is so beautiful, or is it so scary? And then eventually the music may come into that. Pyro 4. Pyro 4 is a bit more alien. Beautiful. And free. I don't know if people feel slightly uneasy, but still admire the beauty of Pyro 4. And make sure people understand we are in a very alien world. The way I did it was very smooth orchestra, very simple, and just trying to give players like a cathartic experience. Just be there and admire the art that was done for that world. And then in the second part of the track, I'm a pianist, so I tried to use the synths, but in a pianist way, which is not so often used, because many times when you hear synth, either they are doing very long lines, like the old classics, or ARPs, which are automated arpeggios. And I try to do it just freely, without any tempo. Just me playing the synth. I love the results. I want people, when they go to Pyro for the first time, I want people to feel that it's a complete new system, and it's a beautiful system. It's probably some of the best art I've seen for a planet in any game. I wanted it to be experienced. I hope people enjoy that. I want music just to be a companion to your adventures in this new system.
So what we learned this week? Well, that depends. If you've never played Star Citizen before, you've learned that Pedro is our amazing composer for the persistent universe, that his work brings depth and emotion and the very essence of life itself to every adventure you undertake, and that his work gets more dynamic and ambitious every year. If you have played Star Citizen before, well, you've known all this after playing for the first 5 minutes, and we're just here to show some appreciation to the maestro. Yep. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the people and process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next week.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard not to acknowledge. Make sure I'm off mute. Yep, good. It's hard not to acknowledge the music that is Star Citizen. I mean, so first off, I'm a music junkie. Like, I live off of this so much. But there was like Crusader, the music in Crusader. It subconsciously became something I loved. And then I heard it at CitizenCon 2953 when I was there in LA. And it was just this amazing experience of like walking into the stadium or the convention hall, hearing that music and just being brought back, to the first time that I did Invictus launch week. And the music does that for me. Like, that's music. Some people do but the visuals have that impact. For me, it's the music. And that freaking, I already referenced it, but that Future of Gaming video from that CitizenCon 2953, I have many times just played that video without even looking at the visuals and just listening to the music. What Pedro's been able to accomplish, I mean, it actually moves me when I play the game. And everything that I just saw in the last 10 minutes, I can't wait to experience. I cannot wait to go to Pyro and have that cinematic adventure, on these planets. It's going to be incredible. I think it has the potential of truly being that next generation of a game, because you don't get that in many other games. Tailored experiences, right? Curated experiences for each planet, and it's done so well. All right, well, this was a long one. about an hour and a half. I want to thank every single one of you for being along the ride. Hard to kind of take 2 weeks worth of notes and things that you want to talk about and put it into a digestible podcast, but I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did recording it. Again, we have our new website, so it's super easy for me to say for all questions, comments, concerns, www.beyondtheversehq.com. You can also join our in-game organization Soul Provision at www.soulprovision.com. And again, that's SOL, soulprovision.com. That'll take you to the same website, essentially. But when you get there, read about us. If we are a home for you and our leadership philosophy and the vision that we have for the future, if that entices you, come on board. We had an amazing night last night doing a murder mystery. That's going to be a bonus episode that I will put on this podcast, hopefully over the weekend. Incredible. Some of the most fun moments that I've ever had in gaming was last night with this organization. So read up about us, join us. If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, follow, all the verbs I can throw out there. But if you want to become a member and help support this podcast in the direction of Soul Provision, you can join one of the two tiers, the tier 1 and tier 2, and I will continue, I promise this, I continue to earn every dollar that you invest into me and into us and what we're trying to produce. So a lot of exciting things to come in the pipeline in 2025. Join now. You never know. There might be a starter's reward for the first 50 to 100 members. I love every single one of y'all. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy holidays going into December. Merry Christmas. I hope this finds you well. Safe travels as you traverse beyond the verse. Take care, everybody.